Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Manal Talks Books. I'm Manal, and let's talk books. As you can see, we're talking about the Wheel of Time today. I'm here to review the first 3 episodes of the Wheel of Time show on Amazon Prime. I'm very excited. I've never reviewed a show, and having read the first 5 books, I think I can talk about it. I think that I have shit to add. I only know one person who has read the books in their entirety, and she's, I think, on her 4th reread. She's my friend who actually got me into these books. Shout out Leonie. I have 3 pages of notes. I'm gonna look at my notes quite a lot. If I don't plan out exactly what I want to say, I can just go all over the place. Like I said, my friend Leonie introduced me to the series like about 2 years ago, I think, and she convinced me to read them. It took me a year to read The Eye of the World. I can't get through these books fast because my biggest issue with these books is the pacing. And that seems like a big criticism, but I genuinely love these books. I love the world, and I appreciate the details because it makes the world just so rich. I love the characters. I'm like very invested in them. I just like the relationships and the story overall. It's very compelling. But the thing is, like, as much as I appreciate all the details he puts in, like, I feel like Robert Jordan could have made these books shorter. So I was very excited for the show. And when it came out last Thursday, I was so excited. Like, I wasn't expecting it to come out on Thursday. It came out at 7, Thursday the 18th. Watched all 3 episodes that night. And I have to say that overall, I am so happy with the product that we got. Obviously, nothing is perfect, and the show is not, but it's good. I, in general, really love everything. And I have my issues, and I'm going to talk about my issues with the show, but overall, so good. The reason why I loved these episodes so much was because my expectations were very low. Seeing the promo material, like all the posters and photos and clips and even the trailer, I was not convinced. I was really scared that the show was gonna be cringy. The CGI was gonna be bad. I had very low expectations, and I am so happy to report that those expectations were immensely surpassed. Now we're gonna get to the actual review. I'm gonna talk about like my thoughts on everything. If you have not seen the first 3 episodes of the Wheel of Time series, and if you have not read the first Wheel of Time book, The Eye of the World, go away. Go away, come back once you've read this and watch the first 3 episodes. Let's get into this. Okay, first of all, the characters and the actors. The acting is so good. The acting is actually what is best about the series. I want to talk about Rosamund Pike and Daniel Henney as Moraine and Lan. They're Moraine and Lan. I feel like every single character, every single actor is their character. So Moraine in the show is just like Moraine in the books, very stoic, very regal. She's very powerful. She projects that power. But the thing I love about Rosamund's portrayal of Moraine is that she gives Moraine this sort of endearing, dare I say, softness. I just feel like Moraine is much more approachable in the show, and it's a change I like. Lan is a badass, as he should be. There's the fight scene in the very first episode where they fight together, and I just thought that was very well done. Like, they were so in sync. You believe that they can take all of these Trollocs because they're just that badass and powerful and just great together. The way their bond is portrayed, I also like. There's that scene in the bathtub, and it was kind of weird, but I don't feel like they were trying to make it sexual or that they had like this sexual relationship. I felt like the showrunners had that scene in there to portray the fact that Moraine and Lan are so like intimate with each other, that they don't care. Like they've gone through a lot together, and they've spent years together to the point where nudity is like nothing to them. I didn't get a feeling that it was sexual because I don't want them to go that route. Like, Moraine and Lan have this great bond, but it's platonic, and it's very much like they protect each other and they care for one another, but there's nothing romantic or sexual, and I want it to stay that way. But yeah, so that bathtub scene was kind of weird, but I didn't feel that it was trying to say that they had a thing. Hopefully I'm right. But I know that a lot of people who've read the books were also very confused with the bathtub scene. Now let's talk about the 4 chosen ones. Yes, I said the 4. Okay, we're going to talk about that change afterwards, but for now, let's just talk about the characters. Their chemistry is amazing. You truly feel like they're a group of people who grew up together in this small village, and they know one another, they care for one another. They were all introduced in a way where you got to know them quickly, and people complain about the pace of the first episode, and I do agree, but kind of disagree as well. I like the fact that we didn't dwell too long in the 2 rivers. That was one of my criticisms in the first book. We spent like the first 200 pages, I believe, in the 2 rivers, and I just wanted to move on. So I loved the fast pace of the show, and I thought that with the small amount of time we got in the 2 rivers, we quickly understood the backstory of each character. So, yes, we could have spent at least another episode in the 2 rivers to develop the characters more. However, I'm okay with how it went. I'm okay with, here are the characters, here's their shitty lives, or whatever, like I'm talking about Matt specifically. Here are their lives. There's this shit that happens, and then they have to leave. I like that. You know, it was quick, moved along. But I do agree with people who said that it could at least have been 1 more episode or half an episode more. And I agree for the ending of that first episode. The way they left was not satisfying to me. I believe that they would have put more of a fight and not just followed Moraine. Like, I get it. Like, they had to leave with her because the Trollocs were after them. So they would have gone with her. But I just felt like that was just easy. That was too easy. Like, no one argued. Moraine was like, you're coming with me. And they were like, you're out of your mind. And then she's like, they're after you. And then they're like, okay, let's go. And just everyone in the village was looking at them go away. No one's like, oh, that's my son. Please don't take him. No one like was just distraught. And I'm like, you're leaving your village after it's been massacred? The village that you've never left before, that's all you know, and everyone's just fine with it? That was too easy. But it's fine. I understand it had to move along. Now let's talk about Rand. Rand is Rand. He's this sheep herder who just wants a quiet, normal life in his village with Egwene and a bunch of kids. And then his whole life gets turned upside down. And he's moody as fuck, which I love. I've heard a review where his moodiness got criticized, but I do understand why he acts the way he acts. Egwene was gonna leave him. Then his village was attacked. Then he had to go and follow Moraine, who he has known for one day. And then, like, I understand his moodiness. I understand why he goes off on Egwene and Moraine. Perrin. Oh, I love Perrin so much. Perrin was never my favorite character in the books. Like, I didn't hate him, but he wasn't my favorite. Like, I just didn't care. But in this series, I love how he's portrayed. I love the dichotomy between, like, him being this, like, strong, muscly dude, but at the same time being such a softie. They gave him this vulnerability, and the actor Marcus Rutherford is just so good. The scenes where he was crying and he showed, like, his vulnerability and his protective side and his caring side, I felt it. I loved it, and I just wanted to give him a hug. And what happened to him, like, in the first episode, like, why did you have to traumatize Perrin that much from the start? Also, let's talk about the change. He has a wife. Like, I don't know where they're going with this. It might be good. It might be bad. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But it was just weird. And there was something off with that woman. Was she a dark friend? I've heard that. I've heard people saying she might have been a dark friend. And honestly, I think so, because in the scene where he kills her, she was like this. She had something in her hands, and she was like this over Perrin. So to me, she might have been trying to kill him. Time to talk about Matt. Matt is a lot of people's favorite character. I do love Matt. In the first book, he's not a big presence. He does something dumb, but he's not a main, like, point of view in the first book. He's not that important in the first book. And in the show, I don't expect him to be that important as well in the first season. But I do love how they made us like him more right off the bat in the show. Whereas in the books, you had to keep going to get his development and in order to like him. But I never hated him in the books, okay? I never hated him in the books. He was annoying. But I like the changes they made in the series where they gave him these, like, shitty parents, and then they gave him two sisters that he was very protective over, because that showed, like, Matt's protective side, Matt's soft side. Like, because he's this, like, smart ass gambler, kind of like a bad boy, funny character who's, like, causing trouble, but he's a good friend and he's a protector, and they showed all of that. You know, he's not a bad person, but he's not a saint either, and that's what I love about Matt. So I like that they gave us that right off the bat. It's time to talk about Nynaeve, my favorite character in the books and in this show. Zoe Robbins is doing an amazing job. Out of all of them, out of all the actors, Zoe Robbins is truly her character. She's the only one where I'm like, that's Nynaeve. That's Nynaeve. She's not even playing Nynaeve. She is Nynaeve. She's a protector. She cares about her people. She's smart. She's strong. She's determined. And I can't wait to see more out of Zoe Robbins. And that scene, those scenes with her and Lan When I saw them on screen together and she was trying to kill him, I was like, please kiss. Just kiss, like right now. And I can't wait for their relationship, for the way it's going to be portrayed. One weakness of Robert Jordan is the relationships, and I cannot wait for a better portrayal of the relationships in the series. I think it's my favorite ship. I have a lot of ships in the Wheel of Time. A lot of ships, but I think that Lan and Nynaeve are my favorite, and I am not getting enough. So far, like I'm at book 5, I'm not getting enough. So I need this series to really focus on Lan and Nynaeve and to develop their relationship better. When they were in that town with Matt and Rand, when they got separated and were in that town, and we see the Aiel. I love the Aiel, okay? The Aiel are my favorite people in the Wheel of Time. And just, we get to see them in the first couple of episodes. Now the White Cloaks. The White Cloaks are so sinister, and to me, they feel more threatening than the Trollocs. And it's funny because in the books, I was never truly frightened of the White Cloaks. They're this like threatening force. Obviously, they're zealots, but I always felt that in the books we could take them. Like I don't know. Like I never felt, oh my god, we're cornered by these White Cloaks and we're gonna die. Like I always knew like we were gonna get out of this, and I don't know, like they felt less threatening in the books, but in the show, the moment where like they were stopped by the White Cloaks, it was so tense. There's something about seeing it rather than reading it that makes it more real, more like, oh, these people could like just kill Moraine. Like they could kill them. They're psychopaths. They're zealots. For the Fades and the Trollocs, they're so good. Okay, the like CGI department, practical effects department, whoever's in charge of that, they should also get a raise because they look so real. They look monstrous and they're fucking gorgeous. I love the Trollocs. The Trollocs were actually what I was scared about when I saw the trailer and the photos and posters. I was very scared. They looked bad. So seeing them in the show, they look real. They don't look fake. They don't look like bad CG, and I'm so happy with that. And it's the way they're made. Like I think they're not all CGI. Like I don't really understand all of that, but amazing. The horror and gore of this show so far, I love. Like I want them to go all out. Like this is not PG. And I love it. I love that there's like actual like hooking up and sex and like horror and gore and like people like getting their insides ripped out and just, oh, give me more. I also want to talk about the world. First of all, I don't know where they filmed the show, but it's beautiful. Second of all, I saw skyscrapers. Did you see skyscrapers? And I'm so happy that they're putting these like Easter eggs of the old world in the show, because it is not medieval fantasy. It's post-apocalyptic. Now I want to mention the channeling. I talked about how the effects and the CG and everything was so far really good. The channeling is one element that I don't particularly like. There's something about it, it's just too bright. When Moraine's channeling in that first scene, and Lan was fighting around her, that first episode, Lan was fighting around her, she was channeling, and I loved the portrayal in the sense that you could feel that she's pulling a lot. of power, and she's taking power from the sky, from the fire, from the buildings. Like, loved all that. But her actual weaves, the lighting was off. The last part of this review discussion is going to be the changes and my fears. So I already mentioned some changes, but I want to talk about the opening scene and the gender politics. What I love about the Wheel of Time, like the world of the Wheel of Time, is that both men and women have different roles. They have very separate roles, but each of their roles are important and necessary for society to function. So, like, for example, in our world, like, everything that's considered like women's domain, like cooking, cleaning, things like that, like very stereotypically women's shit, is considered like weaker. Everything women like, it's like it's weak, it's made fun of and stuff like that. Whereas everything that men do is like strong and powerful and blah, blah, blah. But what I love about the Wheel of Time's world is that, yes, women have their own things specifically for women, and men have their own things, but the women's stuff isn't less important than the men's stuff, and the women's stuff isn't considered bad or weaker or lesser. So that's how I see the genders in the Wheel of Time in the books. I see like women having their own particular set of skills and their particular roles, and men having different ones, but each of them, we need each of those to make the societies function, and the women's role is important, just as important as the men's. I don't want them to focus on like only women have power, like women are powerful and fuck the men, because that's not it. Like, the Wheel of Time is not necessarily a matriarchal society. Like, the societies are not necessarily matriarchal. Women are important. Women are a main like driving force of the series, but the men are not lesser. But it's very important that they explain that there were men Aes Sedai, but then something happened and they fucked up the power, and they will go mad and crazy if they use it. Like, they have to explain that and make that clear that, like, no, this isn't like about men being bad and awful and filthy and like women are gonna take over the world. This is like men go insane if they use the power because this happened. And along with that is the biggest change. What the fuck? The dragon can also be a woman? That is literally not possible. The whole danger is that the dragon is a man and can channel. I know that it's still probably going to be Rand. Like, if they change that, I will not be happy. But I don't like that they included Egwene in that. What like, I like the fact that Egwene is Targaryen, but that she could be the dragon does not make sense. Because if it's a woman, then everything's fine. Like, she can channel. Also, it took away from Egwene's agency, because Egwene in the books chose to go with them, not because she was the chosen one, or possibly the chosen one. She chose to go because she wanted more from herself, and she was stubborn enough to not take a no for an answer. Like, she was like, I'm going. I am coming with you. Like, she was imposing and she was stubborn. She was like, I know what I want, and it is to get out of here because I want more for my life. I said all I wanted to say. I could probably say a lot more, but it would take me hours, and I do not want to do that to myself. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like. And if you want to see more, consider subscribing. Bye, guys.